Welcome to our program On Target. Our brothers and sisters in the diaspora, CARICOM nationals, anyone who have the opportunity to get us on this social medium that exists today, that make things and communication easier, that make the farthest country in the world looks as if in your backyard, that you can exchange information with anybody in China, Africa, and India. You could have a conversation with them and see their smiles. So it's a beautiful opportunity. It's a beautiful time to live in. And here we can use that medium to communicate with you. The number to call is 442-0175. You could always open bowl on this program. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything, from politics to China to Russia to the problems in Africa to gerontology in Barbados. Perhaps there are sometimes we always have to take the lead from other countries. So we don't have to reinvent the wheel. But sometimes if something is going on good, we could follow it. In Grenada here, we have a government that seems to be hostile towards people in the aging people. The actions they are taking against the elderly is unacceptable. While in Barbados, they have made some more headway in trying to protect the elderly. The technology that is available today, some of the elderly people they are ignorant about the technology. They're ignorant about the technology. So it's easier to trick them out of their wealth and their money. Because rather than reading the letters and signing and have two-person witnessing the signature, they are faced with a technology they don't have a clue about. And it's easier to swindle them out. So that's issues that is always good to speak about, and we provoke discussion. Anyway, the government is planning a massive celebration for 50 years. It's only 6 months away, less than 6 months away. 50 years since Grenada got independence. A lot of people don't know our history. A lot of people under 50 years old, you hear them say, we have not achieved nothing in Grenada. We have not achieved nothing. And 50 years ago, we were in a better position. And sometimes the elderly is so intimidated that they decide to hush them out and stay in a corner. I don't agree with that. You must continue to speak. You must continue to defend your position. Otherwise, you would reach where you're going faster than you intend to. Some people in the world today see the elderly as a liability. Some see the elderly as a group to scavenge on, to take advantage of, to swindle the money that they have, their wealth, by using technology. And it's not a group that would have any serious organization backing them. As the power of religion is diluted and the secular world influence take more grip in Grenada, more and more the elderly would be a liability. Some people say you're old, you don't have no use no more. Back off, go in a corner, give young people a chance. And as that philosophy, that thinking, that trend continue to solidify, to take root in the country, more and more, the elderly will be in more trouble. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, welcome.
I listened to the news and heard of what Barbados is doing or intend to do concerning the elderly. But we have already done that here in Grenada under the NNP. And that was a program well organized by the NNP. Hence the reason why the elderly was faring well until this government take over. But all we got to do is to strengthen it. I hope they take a page from that.
Yes, scholar, one would have to hope, but one have to hope, be cautious and watch, because this government seems to be disadvantaging the elderly. And we must not take the actions of the government easily, because historically, every time the government in power, the first group of people to be disadvantaged by the government policy is the elderly, the physically challenged and disadvantaged children. It happened in 1990. It took place in 2008. And this period of time, it is worse. So based upon the history of the government, we can sit back and hope, because it seems that is the trend. As soon as they come in power, the first group that is disadvantaged by their policy are the elderly, the poor elderly. It's sad and it's unfortunate. I've heard stories of Wales coming together when a whale is giving birth to help the young ones. Other female whales coming together to help. That is the animals. There are some animals that function in pack. The wildebeest, the elephant, lions, dogs, and they protect the weaker ones among them. They protect the weaker ones because the pack is strong. The survivability of the elderly and the weak is much better. And that is the animal kingdom. In our society, backed by Christianity, because those are some of the powerful principles and tenets of Christianity, that we must take care of the weak. We must help the orphans and widows. In those society, two of the most vulnerable group was widows and orphans. And Christ's whole mission encouraged the Christians to take care of the elderly. Look out for your parents in the old age. Take care of the orphans and widows in your community. So when we create a breed of people that is involved holding the steering wheel, and they are hostile against this group, it ought to be concern to all of us. You know, you need a government that understands that measures have to be taken to protect the weak in your society. So I hope we have to be constantly encouraging the government, constantly pleading with them. Yes, caller, welcome.
Afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes,
I trust you would have had a good week.
Yes, it was a good one.
You know, Mr. Pierre, I am an ardent listener to your program, and I listen to every program. But one of my concerns is the way in which we as individuals attack each other when we perceive in other cases that you might be supporting a party of the opposition or those who you think do not support you. And I believe it is about time that we learn to respect each other, and it is okay to discuss and not attack individuals publicly. Because when you do that, there are some people who could become very aggressive, some people who could become hot. at the end of the day, Grenada is very small. It belongs to all of us. If we conduct a survey, you would realize maybe not everybody in your household support the same party, and that is okay. You could agree to disagree on certain things. But the end of the day, my thing is respect for each other and love towards one another. And it doesn't matter who you support. We have individual choices. I have very good friends that support opposing party to me, and we appreciate each other. We have discussions. But people, we must learn to respect each other and treat each other as though we related, because you don't know who is your cousin, who is your godmother. You don't know who. And like I say, Grenada is too small a country for that. So let us learn to respect people. Stop, coming up in people's faces. Stop accusing them. And sometimes you go out of your boundaries to get into their personal life that don't have anything to do with politics. Please, let us respect each other. Have a great day, and I thank you, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, Sister, it's a very powerful call by you. In our democratic society, we have to be a more tolerant people. We have to be more respectful. We differ on cricket. We back different sides on cricket. We may watch a movie and have different opinions. Some people like certain flowers. Some people is allergic to some flowers. And where politics is concerned, we ought to be able to discuss politics, and particularly government policies, without going after the individuals. I agree with your caller. And I have constantly say in our society, I take issues with heads of party, ministers, when they do not disassociate themselves from those who are propagating bitterness, anger, hate, those whose language is so dismissive that it can cause fracture in the society. So, caller, I'm in full support of you. I agree with you. And maybe we need more voices. We need more voices in our society pointing out these things. We are Christian people. And some of the strong principles of Christianity encourages us. In our Father's house, there are many mansions. So although we might have come from different denominations, we shouldn't hate one another. Yes, caller, welcome.
Good day, sir.
Yes, my brother, welcome, and good to hear you.
How was the weekend?
Good, It's pretty interesting weekend for me. Good one.
What I noticed, some people were speaking to me last night and they told me, I want to call Mr. Pierre program. I want to call Master Pierre program, but afraid because I want that 10 days in the maintenance. What really going on? Because you see certain things wrong by this administration and you want to say, but you're afraid you won't get at the work. So I want to know, we have a legal government, a government what didn't came in there illegally. In the days of Bishop, we know when you speak against the government, they say it's a counter, so they lock you up. But we're not supposed to have that. Somebody telling me, I got mistakes by this administration, but afraid. Go ahead. First message, because people should have freedom of speech. You are not running down any individual. You're saying where the administration making fundamental mistake. I don't know how you see that, Mr. Pierre.
Well, I would...
That's not sounding good.
Yeah. But one have to be realistic. You see, the government introduced restorative justice, and its practicality on the ground is tantamount to political vengeance. And I would say to some individuals, if you believe or you have the slightest belief that calling my program or any other program would cause you to be mocked, don't call the program. If you believe that saying something good about me is going to cause people to believe and that you're associating with me and could affect your job, don't say nothing good about me in public. Because I know what it is for people to lose their job. You're not speaking about people that are highly paid. You're not speaking about people with discretionary income. You speak about people, most of them owning under $1,000 a month. Under $3,000 a month. And particularly if you're not in an established position, you're in the parallel public service, you have to be on your P's and your Q's. Yes, caller, welcome. Oh, yeah. So you have to be on your P's and your Q's. And you cannot afford to lose your job. You have to secure your job. Sometimes you have to hush your mouth and listen. If you're a teacher, it would not be much of a problem. If you are in an established position, if you are Imani, if you are one of the individuals in the caregiving program, if you depend on a roadwork, if you working in Grand Bay Estate, you could listen to my program. But I would not encourage you to call it and giving it support. Because we have over 30 workers in Grand Bay has lost their job. And the government has not given any justification, any agricultural reason why these people are fired. And people are basically silent. From June 2022, over 3,000 people have been affected. And in each instance, it seems the people have been affected because of politics. So when I speak to people ordinarily, I would say don't go listen to my program and making noise and talking about it and cause you to lose your job. It ought not to be, but that's the reality. And I speak out loud against the government entrenching restorative justice. I believe there is absolutely no need for it. In 1983, after the experiment with the revolution collapsed, perhaps at that time people could have cried out for restorative justice. Because a number of people went to prison. The Americans assisted government then to give some money for people lost of job. While they're in prison, they will calculate how much you are working a day, and I don't know if they give them some percentage of. A lot of Rastaman got not a cent. A lot of the ordinary folks that was arrested and spent time in prison, they did not get a cent. The lawyers and some of the academia and intellectuals got money. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Good afternoon, brother.
Yeah.
I just called you to congratulate the NDC on the very, very good works they are doing for 1 year and 2 months. Mr. Pierre.
In what area?
In what area? They pay the school fees for those people in
college.
Yeah.
Yes,
there is one. They fix VNS for the next 40 years. That is two. They intend taking back some of the land that was given away. right? 10 billion, a new medical station in New Hampshire.
A new hospital or a new medical station?
Well, a hospital now.
A new hospital.
Yes. Plus, they have done some other things, such as they're doing the pay and grade. Right?
Pay and grade for police?
They're doing it for police. And the minimum wage, they're trying to fix it. For all these years it wasn't fixed, they're trying to fix it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
this government,
And you satisfied with these things?
are satisfied with everything they do so far.
Okay, my brother.
You see, Mr. Pierre, the point about it is that we had a government for years and years and years, and only brambling us, Mr. Pierre. These guys and them had money in the treasury to pay the pension, my God. For years, them fellas have money there. Why they didn't pay the pension? Then now we can...
Well, I always say, I don't think you understand the pension issue. When you make those statements like that in isolation, I don't think you understand the pension issue clearly.
Mr. Pierre, listen. First, the government didn't want to pay the pension. They lied to the people. They tell us it's $1.2 billion. Yes.
Caller, you remember that the matter went to court?
Yes, he went to court.
Caller. And you remember that the government did not appeal the case?
Well, they couldn't appeal it.
Caller.
Because they were
Caller.
Yes.
The government was advised by some people to appeal the case. But the government, hear me out. The government did not. Caller. If we want to continue with untruths, it's all well and good. Because I have no, I'm not trying to shield NNP in one way about pension. Because if it was me, I would have appealed the case. You understand me? But the fact that the government did not appeal the case, it means the government accepted the verdict. So, and pension is a continuous process. So the NDC government came in, they paid the retroactive pay. But the pension issue could still be an albatross around our neck. You understand me, caller? You're gone. Yes, I think it's you have a call on the line? Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre?
Yes, caller.
Afternoon. Where is this Mr. living in Outer Grenada?
Caller, normally I don't bother with where people live or what is their name.
Where the hospital in this place building?
The government intends to build a new hospital, I think it's in Calivini.
And how is saying this place?
Well, I asked him if it's a new hospital. So he's pointing out some of the things that NDC did.
This man, he doesn't get information proper. They must get the right information to come on the program.
You see, some of the things that he's saying that NDC did, nothing is wrong with that. It is welcoming. The biggest challenge with the National Democratic Congress is the attitude to the people in the lower income group.
Exactly.
Now, nothing is wrong if the action taken by the NIS to build a new hospital, to pay and grade for minimum wage, nothing is wrong with that.
Mr. Pierre,
but the issues that I challenge NDC on, and my friend prefer not to deal with this issue.
Losing the job, children can go to school, and all that thing. And what the people is doing for these people, the poor people.
You see, and that is where I always say, nothing is wrong with the NDC. There's a lot of people in Grenada who prefer the NDC in power.
Yes.
Because whenever the NDC in power, they benefit immensely.
Okay.
So nothing is wrong with that. But the majority of people in Grenada is disadvantaged when NDC in power. So the caller makes some statements about what NDC did, and that is good. Nothing is wrong with that. If you get tax break, you must be happy.
Yes.
Nobody in the world want to pay tax. Christ had to say, give unto Caesar what is due to Caesar.
Exactly.
So if people who are paying tax get a break, They're glad.
Yeah, that's good for them.
But we ask this question, why should it be at the expense of the elderly?
Taxpayers.
Yeah. So my friend is correct in what he says. What the NDC did is beneficial to some people.
All right.
But it leaves the people in the lower income group in tears. Yeah?
So why they don't give the people back their 150?
Well, it's so NDCs. They did it in 1990. In 2008. This is the worst form of NDC. The other group perhaps had a little bit more compassion. And perhaps, but this group is a vulture group.
All right.
Yeah.
And more going on and more going on and more going on.
Yes.
But God is good.
Yes. On the question of NIS, I don't agree with the government on NIS. I don't agree with the government. Now, you could always make up a good story for what you want to sell. And they have a good story. But if you increase the pension age and you increase the amount of money people have to pay, then you're hoping these people die before they benefit from NIS. And a legitimate question one could ask, at what age they're going to stop increase the pension age? Yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, my brother.
I would like for that government to put back the 150 and the elderly, bring back the bushing program as it was, bring back the bathroom program they had, billing for people, the housing, the free thing, because a lot of people who didn't have houses own houses by the new National Party, and they survive. These are the things that they should be looking at and bring it back. Thank you very much.
Yes, caller, and I agree with you. Why I agree with you? Because the government told lies. Now people say the people voted the government because the government lied. The government never said to them, we're going to crush the toilet program. They never said to people, we're going to cut social program. The government never said to people, we will fire you. The government lied. The government said, we're going to make you permanent. The government said, we're going to raise the money to $650. This is one of the biggest shocker. I didn't trust this group of individual. I wasn't surprised, but I was still disappointed. I didn't expect them to be that bad. They promised people $650. They quote the World Bank. They chastise the previous government. And then when they reach in power, they remove $150 from the $450 people was getting. But 15 years ago, somewhere around 2008, 2000, the government promised to give people $450. The government paraded an elderly man on the radio and social media to advertise the program, to try to woo, to attract, to put a law so that elderly people would vote for them. And when the government come in power, they fire some of the elderly people. 5 women from Paraclete was fired then. And Paraclete is not considered a very low-income area. Imagine from outside. And no explanation, no justification. So the government have a history. And that is what people need to understand. You have to know the policies of the government that you support. You have to know what the politicians you're supporting. You have to know something about them. We bought a cat in bag. We had a whole group of neophytes, political neophytes. They was not involved in the political process before, so we did not know what they stand for. So they lie to the public. They lied to the public. And the public believed them. And perhaps, if I was an Imani or a caregiver or a worker on contract, I might have well believed them too. So I'm not blaming anybody for believing the NDC. They sat down, they planned lies, and they marketed it thoroughly. That is why they caught the World Bank. They purposely deceived people. And I believe people is correct to ask them to return those social programs, because after 1 year, we cannot see any alternative. Yes, caller, welcome.
Pierre,
Yes, my
I'm
brother.
back again.
Yeah,
Pierre,
yeah.
we're starting a $120 million in St. Andrews next month, you know.
What you starting?
$120 million worth of project. We laying pipe and we digging up all the more pipe and put.
That's a project with Nawasa?
Yes,
Well, that is a good project, caller.
right. That's all I'm doing,
But caller,
yeah.
remember, I do not attack the government projects. What I'm saying is, the government have a policy that attacks the elderly. So I'm willing to hear if you could defend these things.
Mr. Pierre, you're making a wrong statement there. Mr. Pierre, there are about 40,000 elderly people in this country that depend on the government. So what kind of statement you're making there?
That is why, caller, that is why I would call the Prime Minister of Grenada publicly a vulture. And I would really like him to be able to defend to Grenadian using economic justification why he should not be called a vulture.
Well, you have 5,000 people who really depend on government. And they put 150 on money for the COVID, you know.
Caller,
There's that COVID they put there.
this is why, caller,
for the COVID.
I admire your spirit, but that is why I call Dick Mitchell a vulture. He deceived the people. He lied to them. He caught the World Bank. He's a vulture.
What the World Bank say? I never like nobody. He never tell nobody.
Caller, you remember in
The World Bank could say anything. The World Bank could say anything. But the man never promised nobody $600.
so that is yes, caller. You know? Yeah. Yes, caller, I understand, and I appreciate your effort to try to explain and defend these individuals. These individuals are from the intelligentsia. They are well-educated individuals. And they sat down and planned to deceive people. And that is why a lot of top NDC is ashamed and taken aback and disappointed. And they don't have the guts to defend them. But I really admire you. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon. Mr.
Yes,
Pierre.
my brother.
Mr. Pierre, when you look at what this government is doing, anything they do to benefit the upper class is the expense of the poor class of people.
Yes, I agree with you on that.
Yeah, because when you look at it, Mr. Pierre, the tax break, cost of living gone up. You have to pay more for items in the shop. And when you have a business, the majority of people who come to your shop to purchase things is the poor class of people. What the government did, the government take away some of them who was working, right? They take away the job from them. They had a family to go to send to school, to buy school books, buy that for them, and still buy the food, right? But you put up more in the electricity, you put more everything
On
everything
water.
gone up. And then
On water, caller. The government raised the price of water.
Water, everything they raise. And the people have to pay for it. And the tax money, that should be going back to the government to get the government getting that to help do things for the poor class of people in the country. You're telling the businessmen to keep that tax amnesty. Look, you tell them to keep it. Look again with this free thing they say for school, where you have the government before, or making sure the child, the people in dire need, they get money to send the children to school with the school books, the uniform, and the traveling allowance. You remember they had the thing about free school books for everything, for everyone? And what Dr. China was saying, if he could afford to send the child to school and buy the child school books, he would not be a partaker of getting free thing. The policy of the previous government, those who could afford to buy it, buy it. So that money you try to take away from the poor class of people to get a full education for the children to go send them to school, give them the bus, buy that a proper lunch for them. You're taking away and giving it to those who afford. As you said, there's some kind of people in the country, they always support the NDC because the NDC always help them and they forget the less fortunate people of the country. I'm saying again, when you look at again, the development of our... Hello?
Go right ahead, caller. When you look at the
development of our country, the most development that came to our country is under NMP government. Under NMP government, where you find the people that was get problem to get water, you have standpipe outside, you have people who are home with no electricity. And what the government to look when the government look at the situation, the government say, no, these people need help. They need help.
Well, caller, you
see,
that is where the policy is different because the NDC is not supportive of helping these people.
They're not supportive for that.
They say
because enemy of progress.
And I think that's one of the challenges people have. I'm not taking issue with what the government does, but the policy that they have.
Towards the poor class of people in the country.
Yeah. Thank you, caller. Yeah, I think this one is a challenge. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller, welcome. All right, so you have to cut off the noise in the back and call us back. I think that is where the challenge. People would say, yes, the NDC did that. Caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre?
Yes, caller, welcome.
The 150 that the previous government had put on the poor people thing, is that was a permanent something?
Well, I don't know whether it's permanent or not permanent. It was there, and the NDC removed it.
Well, I heard in the news it was for 1 year, something like that. So
I don't know whether the previous Minister of Finance said it was a permanent feature. But whether it was permanent or not permanent, my argument is this government must give economic justification why they remove it. They cannot say the next government would have removed it.
Well,
that is not an argument.
Well, if they remove it, they must have a purpose for doing so.
And you don't find they must tell the public?
And then they should come out. Well, yes, that's what I'm going to say. They must have a reason why they remove it, and they should come out publicly and say, well, look, we had to remove it because of certain circumstances.
Yes.
This is what they're supposed to come out and say.
I agree with you, man.
Thank you so much.
The government have a responsibility. The government have a duty. And that is where I would go a different path with it. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, Mr.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Yes, let us go back to 2010, 2011, where Mrs. Hamlin Armstrong took the Tillman Thomas administration to court for the pension under the 1958 law. Right? She won her case. The Tillman Thomas administration never gave the woman not a cent. She and she colleagues who took the court. 2013, the NNP government came back into power. They could have reappealed the case, but they choose not to reappeal the case with the Hamlin Armstrong pension case reform. It took, then the government decided to pay Miss Hamlin Armstrong and 57 others about that with that pension reform thing. In 2018, the government paid over 100 people the pension again. Right? The government they wanted was to collide with the NIS to pay with the NIS. So the NIS would have paid some percent and the government would have paid certain percent. They
to reach 70%.
Right. Then they had a MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with the union and the government of Grenada signed in 2018 to 2019 to chant the way forward how public servants would have gotten the pension, right? What leak out on the street and teachers and other government workers and union take to the street. Then in 2022, the union took the government to court. They wanted the government to pay the 1958 law, the pension of the 1958 law. And I want that caller to understand that. The 1958 law. So not saying that Dr. Mitchell was not paying the pension. But the 1958 law, the union and the workers of Grenada wanted was to go back onto, because remember, the People's Revolutionary Army and the People's Revolutionary Government.
The Pension Disqualification Act, April 4th, 1983.
Right, they seized that. They stopped it and they implemented NIS. Right? They implemented NIS.
To the ordinary man, a lot you say there. and they would start to get tired.
Well, I'm an ordinary man.
Yeah, I know, but you're knowledgeable about it. And that is where the NNP government failed. They did not provide enough information to the public about it. It was not in the union's interest to talk about it. It was not in the NDC interest to talk about it.
Because the union now was playing politics.
The union, right, they didn't have to talk about it. The government, the NNP government,
responsibility was to
the government had to explain this thing so a 6-year-old child can understand.
And I blame the NNP for
and they did not do that job. So that's a lot of food for thought you give us there. If a man listening and you continue confusing. No, you confuse the color. You have to, that is plenty. And that's it.
You know, so he had to understand. And just remember, after the 2022 election, remember Senator Claudette Joseph said
irreparable damage.
Exactly.
Serious.
Let us be straight with the people. Let us be straight. And I admonish her for her honesty and her sincerity.
Well, there is hope in this sister, you know. Every now and then she realized she had to speak the truth. There is hope in her.
Exactly. You know, so she said, let us be straight. Because she explained how it is with the government, how the government had to put in, how the workers had to put in fight.
And eventually government might even have to drop the tax threshold from 3,000 to 1,200 to manage the pension.
So I want the caller to, I called.
I think it will take some time.
Explain that for the caller to sensitize him. I understand he defending his political party and there's nothing wrong in doing that. But he must also have the facts. Sometimes, again, he could have the facts, but he's just playing cat and mouse.
He could have the facts, but it's not relevant to use the facts now.
Oh, God. So I cannot understand the caller. Just He's just defending NDC at any
You're right.
cost. He don't care.
You're right.
The caller don't care, and I agree with you. He's right.
Yes, caller. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Have a good evening.
Yeah, it's a lot of food for thought. Give him on the pension issue, and if you're not in the public service, even some public officers don't clearly understand it. And I don't know if all the ministers of government understand it either. But Claudia Joseph had given a hint. If we're not careful, we're going to cause serious damage. And then she used the word irreparable damage to the economy. Irreparable damage to the economy. And that is why I say the National Democratic Congress sat down and they planned a series of lies. And people accepted lob, stock, and barrel. And I don't blame people based upon the type of work you do and you was not involved and knowledgeable in the operation of the public service. When I ready to attack somebody, I attack Comrade Cornwall and Brother Lennox Andrew because both of them knew different. That's the reality. You will give us a call. The number to call is 4420175. Remember, we speak about anything. Government is preparing to celebrate independence 50 years, less than 6 months away. Some of the statements that I've been here making in Grenada that we have not achieved nothing. So I always do some comparability. You hear me say umpteen time on radio. Electricity, telephone, water, and internet in Grenada, we second to none. Better than most and comparable with the best. Grenada have one of the best network of roads in the region. Grenada have the most landowners. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre, good afternoon.
Yes, my sister, welcome.
These are the callers I would like to listen to on the program where I would learn something. And I'm sure there are other listeners who would echo the same sentiments. Callers call and you learn something from them. Things that this guy gave a whole journal in that few minutes there, you know.
Yeah, he was too much. I had to stop him.
You
Otherwise,
learn something from him.
information overload go get you confused.
Caller, Mr. Pierre, with due respect, we're not learning anything from him,
But
and he's just wasting the program's time.
But caller, thank God he called that the next caller called. If he didn't call the next caller, he didn't call me at all.
These are the callers.
And remember, we provoke
From
discussion.
sunrise to sunset. Persons need to learn from the various programs.
But we,
Thank you, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, you see, we provoke discussion. If the caller didn't call and say NDC, we hospital and NIS and pension, the other caller would not have called. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre,
Yes, my brother.
how come the caller that defending NDC don't call Master Jordan Kiwi?
Master George? Master Call?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he does call Master Call.
No, you don't.
You don't? Well, you see...
I don't listen.
Yeah, but my program is different. My program provoke discussion. And as a result of he calling, a number of people would discuss other issues. And we have to be tolerant to one another. We have to prepare to sit down and disagree with one another and exchange ideas. We're fighting too much in the country. The different religious group fighting. I had to tell a Christian brother recently that the different denominations fighting with one another. You cannot speak into one of these smaller churches. You can't speak to them 5 minutes if they decide to curse the Pope. I say I must able to speak to you an hour or two without we cussing one another. Christians spending too much time cussing Christian. They should spend more time explaining to their people to behave good. Don't thief. Don't lie. Treat the orphans and widows good. Yes, caller, welcome. Yes, caller,
Mr.
welcome.
Pierre, good afternoon once again.
Yes, my brother, welcome.
Mr. Pierre,
Yeah.
the Pope need cussing because the Pope is absolutely out of context.
Well, nothing is wrong in cussing the Pope, but I'm saying, but just a while.
Mr. Pierre,
If we,
Mr. Pierre, I'm on WhatsApp. I can on my phone way. Listen to this. The Pope has been advocating the homosexuality that the world needs to condemn. I don't get. That's not what I call for. Just as you mentioned.
you see, watch me. Wait. When you caller, call on your main issue, because you interfere with the Pope, they know, and you see all my forays are ready to take you on. So call on your main issue.
I could do
go ahead. All right, go ahead.
But listen to this, Mr. Pierre.
Go ahead.
The issue of that pension, the pension issue, I dealt with it on another calling program one time. And I was so surprised to hear the host point out to me in the end that what I said there is actually how it should be dealt with. You see that pension issue? The guy who, for example, who provoked the conversation now have no clue as to what or not he's talking about.
But he provoked
the issue is really about. To the extent that that thing is an anomaly to handle, as you call it, an albatross around the neck of the government of this country or the people of this country, it is actually a real live situation when it comes to that. That pension issue is an albatross around the neck of the people of this country. But hey, Kit Mitchell administration, the genius among us, pointed out to us that there is a need for a study on the issue. A committee was set up to study the issue. This government come and they pay the gratuity aspect of the pension, and the same committee aspect, the same idea of the committee has been set up. And the guy doesn't seem to understand this kind of thing. Right now, pension is not being paid in the normal way as it should be. You know? What is going on is that the government has this study going on. We call it like Kit Mitchell had initiated it. They had to adopt it because it makes sense. Because the thing is so technical. The $2 billion that Kit Mitchell has been pointing out to us would be required to get that pension going. It's actually a normal thing to happen. You can't get away from it. So this is why the committee is set up to do analysis on the issue thoroughly to understand the thing. The guy doesn't understand this kind of thing. And
yes, caller, next time.
Hello?
Caller, we down to the program.
Your caller who explain, congratulations. We have people like that listening and understand the issue. That pension thing is not a simple thing.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. See, pension issue is a big issue. The NNP government didn't spend enough time to explain it to people, and it was not decisive enough. That's a reality. And the union didn't have to say nothing. And the NDC didn't have to say nothing. They were waiting like snake, waiting to change. Now they have the albatross in their hand. But remember, we need to constantly hold discussion among our families about independence in Grenada. As I was saying, when people make the statement that we have not achieved nothing in Grenada, then I think something wrong with their head. And you must compare what St. Lucia and Dominica and St. Vincent and Barbados. We normally look at the OECS and we use Barbados as a reference. Because in Grenada, we are in the LDCs, the lesser developed countries. And we have the MDCs, the more developed countries. So we could look at independence in all the islands and make the comparison to see if Grenada has not achieved anything. In addition to that, independence gives you the opportunity to manage your own foreign policy. We still aligned to the British. We still have the Governor General. But we could join the United Nations. We could have overthrown the country. We could have gone to establish diplomatic relationship with international organizations and monetary units. The British no longer have to veto our budget. We could handle that. And the time has come for our people to understand that. In Grenada, When you look at our school buildings have gone, we have made great leaps in that direction. Almost 20% of our teachers drive themselves to school. So it means we have more discretionary income in the schoolhouse. So when people say we have not achieved anything, the St. George's University that we had to fight for again contribute more than 20% of the GDP. More than 20% of the GDP is contributed by the St. George's University. So we have achieved a lot when we compare with the achievement that went on in the Caribbean. And Grenada is still a relatively safe place where crime is concerned. We are in a better position than most countries in the Caribbean. So we have achieved a lot. Now that we're celebrating 50 years, it is unfortunate and sad that the government seems to be hostile to the very people that was in the forefront of fighting for independence. The very people that was in the forefront of fighting for independence, the government is hostile towards them. Remember, the British sent down 2 battleships in Grenada to see how they could discipline Eric Matthew Gary. And they was not successful. So he was a hero, a real authentic Grenadian hero. And he fought for independence. And I always advocate we must hold discussion among ourselves. You could say negative things, but we must have discussion. And we continue with the discussion on another day between 12 and 1 and give you an opportunity to call and speak about any topic. Because of the time, we provoke discussion. Thank you very much.